at AT&T Stadium.
Anything that moves between these lines, gotta get dealt with.
10, 5, and he streaks in. Deep to the post to Lamb. At the 5, to the goal line.
Dallas Cowboys Game Night is presented by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
From the windy city of Chicago, Illinois, the Dallas Cowboys fall to 1-2. A 31-14 loss in Week 3 of the NFL season. And the Cowboys give Ben Johnson their first win as the head coach for the Chicago Bears. Welcome into Cowboys Game Night from the Star in Frisco in the Globe Live studios. Alongside Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Youmans. And Isaiah, it was a frustrating game for the Cowboys. We've had some time to think on it a little bit here, kind of take a deep breath. It's early in the season, but there's a lot to fix for this Cowboys team.
It's early in the season, but there needs to be a sense of urgency that's being had with this team at this point in time. Yes, you are now 1-2. You've lost to two teams that nobody really thought that you should lose to when you look at your schedule. The New York Giants put up a bunch of points on you, and then you obviously lose it to a desperate Chicago Bears. A lot of things that you could point to in this game, all the way from the beginning, where you can talk about Javonte Williams, on the strip, he gave up a fumble. You can talk about the George Pickens tipped interception, or you can talk about the secondary, giving up another 4 touchdowns this week through the air and seemingly a lot of miscommunication, or point to the defensive line that seemingly was unable to create any pressure. A lot of things you can point to. At the end of the day, there's a lot that has to be corrected if you want to be a competitive ball club going forward this season.
Let's see how this one unfolded from Soldier Field in Chicago, where the Cowboys were looking for their first win against the Bears on the road since 2014. Dak Prescott and company taking on former #1 overall pick Caleb Williams in his second season with the Chicago Bears. After an opening stop, Dallas moving the ball on the ground. Javonte Williams with another big gain, this time down the left sideline. But at the end of the play, the ball stripped out. Tyreek Stevenson steals the rock, and he steals a possession for the Chicago Bears. Chicago takes full advantage on the offensive side of the ball. They do so through the air. Caleb Williams, I mentioned him in his second year. How about second-year receiver Rome Odunze out of Washington? Isaiah, he was wide open for this pitch and catch. Chicago strikes first. Dallas would get on the board with a field goal, but Ben Johnson right back in his bag. A flea flicker opens up the rookie Luther Burden over the top for a big-time touchdown.
Yeah, unfortunately, just got their eyes caught in the backfield. You see it right here, press the hole, pitch it back, and unfortunately, the secondary tends to keep their eyes back there instead of keeping their eyes on the prize and the man that they're responsible for.
It was his first career receiving touchdown at the NFL level, and the Bears up 14-3. Fast forward to the mid-second after another Brandon Aubrey field goal. Dak in the offense, finally in the red zone. He hits George Pickens with the one-handed grab. They would convert on the 2-point conversion, and it would tie the game at 14. However, before the break, Chicago tallies 10 unanswered points, including this pitch and catch to Cole Kmet. It's 24-14 Bears at the break. After a 3-and-out to start the half, Bears drive down the field. A 19-play drive capped off on a gutsy 4th-down conversion from Williams to DJ Moore, who was wide open in the back of the end zone. Bears in full control. Moving on to the fourth quarter, Dak trying to get this offense back in position, but it's off the hands of George Pickens. A drop is intercepted. A wide open opportunity, but Tremaine Edmonds with the extra effort after the Pickens drop ends up in a turnover. That wouldn't be his only one in the game. We'll talk about that momentarily because, oh wait, the next possession, he has his second interception. Edmonds at the goal line on 4th and goal. Dak tried to fit it in a tight window, couldn't get there. His day was done after that. It was a defensive stop that led to Joe Milton getting an opportunity. He drove down the field pretty nicely up until he overthrows Kevontae Turpin in the end zone. The interception seals it for Chicago. They did not score, either team did not score in the fourth quarter. 31-14 the final scores. We take a look at the final stats presented by Miller Lite. The Cowboys, nearly 400 yards of total offense, yet they did not have the full possession. Couple throws in the end zone that were intercepted, and Chicago took full advantage of those Dallas mistakes, especially toward the end of the second quarter and the early parts of the third quarter. When we come back on Cowboys Game Night, we're going to break down the film of what went wrong at Soldier Field in the Cowboys' loss to the Bears.
This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Welcome back into Cowboys game night alongside the Super Bowl champion Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Youmans, and plenty to break down in this game against the Chicago Bears. Isaiah, I'm going to give you the floor, give you the telestrator, give you the film study, because you've already done some after this post-game, really, I guess, analyzing. Yeah. I don't really know what to say. Post-game conversations that we've had, there's plenty to go after. What do you want to start with?
Well, Kyle, first of all, let's both take a deep breath. Now let's walk. Okay, we're going to go walk. Okay, all right, we're going to take it over to the film room. Let's talk about what's happening on this particular play. You have Trayvon Diggs, your big-time, highly paid cornerback versus Rome Odunze, their first-round draft pick from last year. He's an absolute beast. He came into this game with 3 receiving touchdowns. Actually, the only 3 touchdowns that Caleb Williams has thrown all year long has gone to this man right here. So probably not a good idea to go against somebody who's the same speed as you, that is bigger than you by about 20 pounds, and you're coming back from an ACL injury. Just my thoughts at it. I think that Trayvon Diggs thinks that he's the old Trayvon Diggs, and he hasn't shown it on film. It's easy to look at this particular play and say, oh, it's just that one play. But we also have Malik Neighbors from last week. Rome Odunze is just running a go. This is man-to-man. He is going to take the outside, and he's going to run up here and try to keep as much of the sideline as possible. What Trayvon Diggs is trying to do is put a jam on him and then try to turn and run. However, you're going to see he's going to miss his footing, and it's not going to go as planned. Boom, he steps and jabs right here. He got contact, okay? He was able to get contact right here. But look at what Rome's doing. Rome's like, you can get your hands on me, but now I'm doing what? I am now going to take the route of least resistance, and now you're slipping and falling and you can't get up. I understand that you slipped and failed, but I think that it was a bad plan from the get-go, because now even when you're up running, he's been running and he was beating you by 4 yards.
And that's what Coach Schottenheimer was talking about in his postgame press conference, which you can watch on DallasCowboys.com. He was talking about how he slipped. But prior to the slip, there was a bad plan across the board.
Yeah, I just don't believe personally that, and I don't like to say what a man can or can't do, but Trayvon Diggs has not shown since coming back from the ACL that he is what he was. So I don't believe that it's a good idea to allow him to play man-to-man versus a dominant receiver at this point in time in the season who's on a hot streak when you don't have any help over the top.
Also, not to mention, he was questionable coming into the game with a knee injury. All right, what's next? What's another talking point?
Okay, now let's talk about some of the communication errors that we had last week against the Giants, and it kind of reared its ugly head again this year. This game. All right, we're going to see, this is kind of what we call a zone match, okay, where everybody has their eyes on these particular areas. I'm looking for anybody that comes in my area. I'm going to take them as my responsibility. So we have to let this play start a little bit so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Boom, pause it right there. All right, we got Komet coming out here to the flat route. Okay, we got Rome Odunze coming in here. Okay, we have another man coming here. We got Swift coming, and then we got a man coming to the back of the end zone. As you guys see this, okay, again, let's talk about it. This man right here is responsible for that man coming into his zone. These two right here are both looking at the man coming into their zone. Middle linebacker, Sanborn, he's looking at the man coming into his zone. I have DeAndre Swift going into that zone right there, so I have to respect that. And I'm going to keep my eyes on both the Swift coming out to the out the backfield into a flat route, and I have to be aware that he might try to go into my zone there and get to the corner route. But who is not paying attention to what's going on behind him? Malik Hooker. Malik Hooker has his eyes on DeAndre Swift going to the flat route, when in reality, he's not looking at who? He's not looking at the man that's running behind him right here. So as you see, boom, again, pause it right there. His eyes are still, right? His eyes are still looking over here, and he's now looking at Swift when the man that he needs to be concerned about is literally running behind him. He's coming into his zone, into his area, but he is preoccupied with other guys, and unfortunately he misses it. So as now Caleb Williams steps up and out, boom, pause it again. His attention now becomes on who? On Caleb Williams. And now who is not being covered? DJ Moore. Nobody's responsible for him, because the man that he was that actually had him was never paying attention to him in the first place.
Give credit to the scheme. The scheme to help set this up. Give credit to Caleb Williams establishing the play, able to get outside and keep that play going enough for DJ Moore to work over the middle of the field. But at the same time, you got to have communication.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go ahead. This one right here, this one bothers me, okay? You have 2 plays from the 1 yard line. You're averaging 6 yards running on the ground. You have a running back who's averaging 7.5 yards on the ground. And we throw the ball 4 straight times from the 5 yard line in. 5-yard line in, you throw it 4 different times. From the 1-yard line in, you threw it 2 straight times.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let this play out a little bit. I'm going to show you why I'm frustrated. We have a motion that comes across the formation. Pause it right there. Now I'm going to count. Okay, we have 5 offensive linemen and a tight end, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, correct? Okay, we have 6 guys that can block. Now let's count how many guys they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? 5, if you want to count him, perfect. 6, okay? So you have 6 on 6. How many yards did you have to go?
1.
1. You have a running back right here who's running for 7 yards at a time. This right here I will take all day long because I trust that you can block him. And I can trust that we can get up to him. I trust that Hoffman's going to take care of his. Booker's going to take care of his. Steele's going to take care of his. And if you want to be a free runner coming through here, I have trust that my running back can run either over you or run around you. Instead, we elect to throw the ball in this situation. And when you throw the ball in this situation, now you allow for bad things to happen. Let's bring it back just a little bit. What are those bad things that are happening? Well, I don't like to highlight somebody, but I'm going to highlight somebody. Okay, Brock Hoffman is your replacement center for this particular game. He is facing their starters on the defensive line. He gets beat right here. And because he gets beat, there's pressure in Dak Prescott's face, and this is the result of it. Lose your matchup one-on-one. Now Dak Prescott doesn't have the time. He's scanning. He panics, throws the ball errantly across the field, and now all of a sudden it's a turnover in a situation where you should have been running the ball.
And it was 4th and goal. That was their last opportunity, but they had multiple chances going into that could have had an opportunity as well. We're going to talk about the run game when we come back. But when we come back here on the other side for Cowboys game night, we're going to talk about the defensive struggles and some of the things that went wrong for the Cowboys in this matchup. More Cowboys game night after this.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Back here on Cowboys game night alongside Isaiah Stanback and now alongside a 19-play drive by the Chicago Bears. This was not a good-looking drive for the Cowboys defense. It was one of the multiple defensive struggles that they had in the game. What were the number one things that they need to fix going into week 4?
No, you got to get off the field on 3rd down. I mean, you have to as a defense. You got to find a way to get these guys off the field because those sustained drives just wear you down mentally, physically, emotionally. It just takes away your spirit. It's very difficult, especially when you allow 19 plays. That's a lot of wear and tear on your defense.
It's a lot of wear and tear. You talk about 3rd down efficiency in this ball game. It's the 3rd straight week that they've struggled with that. They've struggled with 3rd down efficiencies across the board against Philadelphia, against New York, and now they do so again here in this matchup against Chicago. Does that start up front with the front 7? Is that the secondary? We just talked about miscommunication, but the pass rush was non-existent as well. First time in Caleb Williams' 2 years of being the starting quarterback in Chicago where he has not been sacked in a game.
Yeah, we talked about it in OT, and it's just very difficult for any secondary. You're in the NFL, you have great offensive coordinators, you have quarterbacks that are all capable. If you allow these guys to have time and sit back and they go to their first read, their second read, their third read, or even their first read to get to their second and third whole options, these guys have the time to sit back there comfortably and wait on them to get open. You're not going to take away anybody's ability to be open all play long if it's lasting 5 or 6 seconds, and that's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are facing. They have to find a way to elicit some pass rush without exposing themselves, and that usually comes in the form of a blitz.
Yeah, and you got to find a way to scheme that pressure. Remember, Matt Eberflus talked about it, but when your teams are going 8 for 13 on 3rd down like Chicago did in week 3, you got to find a way to get home and finally find some pass rush. When we come back, we're also going to talk a little bit more in depth about the lack of run game that Cowboys had despite having some success from the guys toting the rock. More Cowboys game night next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Running the football in this matchup, Javonte Williams, 10 carries, 76 yards. That's 7.6 yards per carry for all the math wizards out there. But with all that being said, only 10 carries for somebody averaging over 7 yards a pop. Is that a concern, the fact that Dallas vacated the run as quickly as they did?
I believe that Coach Schottenheimer most likely got out of his game plan. And I think that's easy for some offensive I would consider them to be gurus, right? I think we used to run into that issue with Kellen Moore back in the day where he's so good at his pass concepts and so confident that he kind of forgets about the run. And I think that Coach Schottenheimer might have found himself into that same little hole today. I think when he goes back and watches film, he's going to be like, I sure wish we would have ran the ball more, because they were not stopping it. We just talked about it on those 5-yard and in situations where they opted to throw the ball. I think he would have had some different decisions after he goes back and watches that film.
What did you think about the offensive line play across the board? Brock Hoffman filling in for Cooper Beebe and the way they paved the way up front.
Overall, I think it was pretty good. I think, Hoffman, obviously we showed one play where he gave up a big play, but, Tyler Guyton gave up a sack, I believe, on the left side as well. But overall, in terms of what we expected in the run game, those guys were highly effective there. And for the most part, they kept a clean pocket for Dak. And with his footwork and his ability to get the ball down the field, I think they're doing a good job with their O-line so far.
You know what's a byproduct of running the football effectively? Keep your defense off the field and give them a little bit of a breather.
Sustain drives?
At the same time, sustain some drives, move the ball a little bit, continue that efficiency. We'll see what they do going into next week. But when we come back, what did Isaiah learn? And what does he want this team to remember going into Week 4 against the Green Bay Packers? It's time for Isaiah's lessons learned when we come back.
To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Dallas Cowboys Game Night was presented by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
31-14 final score from Chicago, Illinois, as the Cowboys fall to the Chicago Bears. In Week 3, we wrap up things here on Cowboys Game Night from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco, back alongside Super Bowl champion Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Youmans, kind of looking ahead, kind of not at the same time. Cowboys have a Week 4 matchup on the horizon with the Green Bay Packers, but I want to start with Isaiah's learned lessons. You got a lot to go back on and teach. If you had one thing to say to this Cowboys locker room, what would it be?
If I had one thing to say to this Cowboys locker room, that means go back and watch the film. Just go back and watch the film. There is opportunities that you guys have had over the last 2 weeks that you wish that you would have back. And you have to face yourself in the mirror. You have to be honest with yourself. Defensively, you're giving up too many big plays. There's obviously a lack of communication. There's obviously a lack of understanding of responsibilities that's hurting your team and being a detriment to your team. Offensively, I think Coach Schottenheimer has to understand that right now you're a running team. You're a running team, and that's perfectly fine. And understand that, rest assured in that, and then play off of that. But I think that sometimes offensively you kind of get outside of yourself, and playmakers got to make plays. I think that's one of the things that you have to realize as well. You need your playmakers to step up on the offensive side of the ball, and then defensively, you guys got to figure this out. 7 touchdowns in 2 weeks. It's not acceptable.
At 30-plus points per game, currently through 3 games on the defensive side of the football. It's the 4th most allowed in franchise history through those 3 games. So with all that being said, it's not just one side of the football. No. It's both sides of the football that have to take a look in the mirror.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to listen to Michael Jackson, The Man in the Mirror. I mean, this is, we're all, everybody in that locker room is grown men. Everybody in those decision-making positions are all grown. Face the facts and understand that you're not a good football team right now, but you can be if these areas are addressed. But you can't go back-to-back weeks sustaining the same issues, having the same things show up on film, and then offensively you just had multiple turnovers, and it's never a good thing when that happens.
Yeah, not at all. You lose the turnover battle, a lot of times you're going to lose the football game as well. Cowboys take on the Green Bay Packers next week on Sunday Night Football, 7:20 kickoff on NBC. But before that, you can catch Cowboys pregame live on DallasCowboys.com and the Cowboys streaming platforms as well. We'll be out at AT&T Stadium getting you ready for kickoff for the Cowboys and the Packers in Week 4. Week 3 belongs to the Chicago Bears. 31-14, the final score from Soldier Field. For Isaiah Stanback and our entire Cowboys crew, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from Frisco.